Hello and welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. Today, I'm excited to present to you part 4 of the story, Curse of Bloodlust. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share my channel with your friends. But enough talk, let's not waste any more time and dive straight into the story. Let's get started. I'm so incredibly screwed if anyone ever finds out about my innate magic, Rune thought while talking with Michael. She blinked, and before she realized it, time had moved faster than she expected. Noon arrived, and with it came Gaius' response. He thanked her for her letter and wrote that he would be attending the same school as her. Just like in the past, he promised to look after her. More than that, he said she was welcome to drink his blood anytime she wished. What shocked her most was his confession. He wanted to be with her for longer than his natural lifespan would allow. But since they were both mages, magical beings who could live far longer than normal humans, it wasn't urgent. He had more than enough time ahead of them. Those were the words that truly hit Rune. She hadn't realized how thick-headed she'd been. He still cared for her. Despite everything, despite how much of a fool she'd been when it came to love or emotions, he was still willing to be there for her. Man, I just don't know how to deal with people, or anything involving people, Rune thought bitterly. She wrote back, admitting as much. She told him that he was welcome to help her figure out emotions, since she was honestly just terrible at it. She opened up, clumsily, but sincerely, about how hard it was for her to understand human behavior, even back when she was still human herself. She acknowledged how difficult it must be for someone like him to interpret emotional cues and gestures for someone like her. And yet, she added how happy she was that he would be in the year above her. At the same time, she expressed her nerves about meeting someone as powerful as Neolin. Even after several months as a vampire, there was still so much she didn't understand. She sent the letter off, knowing full well she'd be seeing him tomorrow, at the largest school she could possibly imagine. Even though many students were regularly expelled for lacking the required level of talent, it was still a massive place, nearly beyond comprehension. The school had been built like a castle, but it was far older than she had guessed, and even larger. Supposedly, the structure rose 2 kilometers into the sky and stretched 8 or even 10 kilometers across. That couldn't possibly be right, could it? Rune pondered that thought the next morning as she packed her things into compact magical artifacts, small dimensional storage devices that defied the laws of physics with their seemingly infinite space. They were always weightless, which was strange, but workable. And then the moment of departure came. Are you sure I don't need more stuff, Michael? I mean, I don't even have any books, Rune asked, confused why she was bringing so little that felt like real school supplies. Yes, that's everything, my lady, he replied calmly. So how is this supposed to work? Where's the bus coming from? Rune asked. Suddenly, darkness fell, mid-morning turned to midnight, and a bus rolled out of a cloudburst. A dense, rain-soaked cloud birthed a driverless vehicle that pulled up and opened its doors with a low hiss. It was bizarre. But then again, considering all she'd already seen, Rune decided it was acceptable. As she stepped onto the bus, she was nearly bowled over by a walking tree, a living, mobile oak easily over 2 meters tall. Behind it were 2 completely naked elves, one male, one female, engaged in lively, flirtatious conversation. What the? Rune muttered, stunned. The bus itself defied spatial logic. The stairs twisted at unnatural angles, the walls folded into themselves, and a bar, Yes, an actual bar, stood in the middle of the aisle with no clear reason or support. One door opened into a hallway of more doors. Okay, someone definitely threw a hotel into this fever dream, she thought, as the naked elf man began making out with his female companion, right there in the open. Rune wasn't exactly a stranger to sex, but this was, a lot. Out in the middle of the aisle. Yet nobody else seemed to care. One student took photos, another sipped wine. A tiny fairy was licking a flower that grew out of her own wine glass. A goblin in a black tuxedo approached Rune and offered her food. Then a troll brushed past her, his dark green skin rough like stone, and was soon joined by a dwarf. The troll and dwarf, differing only in proportions and color, immediately launched into a philosophical debate about some obscure magical topic Rune couldn't even begin to understand. What the hell is going on? What is this place, and why are those elves having sex and no one even blinks? Rune thought, utterly bewildered. Rune glanced briefly at the two elves, eyeing them with mild curiosity. They made no effort to hide themselves, no attempt to blend in or avoid attention. If they didn't care about being seen, then Rune certainly wouldn't care enough to interfere. Elves were either eccentric by nature, or perhaps in a world overflowing with wonders, nothing truly stood out anymore. But ultimately, it didn't matter. Rune wasn't interested. She turned away and continued walking, eventually purchasing a drink from a nearby stall. As she brought the cup to her lips, something peculiar struck her. Nothing around her was moving. Not a flicker, not a shake. Even the drink in her hand was eerily still. What the hell, why isn't anything shaking? Rune asked the goblin behind the counter, frowning. The goblin looked up at her, blinking slowly. What do you think, miss? This is a naturally occurring bubble world. A place connected to many doors, 12, to be exact. All of them are linked to ancient buses. This location was once used by the Ministry of Phenomenal Magic about 150 years ago. That caught Rune off guard. She had never heard of naturally occurring bubble worlds before. Curious, she started asking questions, speaking to other mythical beings wandering nearby. To her surprise, it was a well-known phenomenon. These naturally formed spaces were rare, yes, but entirely real, though difficult to access and even harder to find. And yet, here she was, standing in one. Rune found herself oddly fascinated. Apparently, her invitation letter to Intermagix would inform her when the school was ready for her to arrive, so she had time to explore and relax. With that in mind, she began wandering aimlessly through the maze of stairways and halls, a gut feeling whispering that this strange place was only a drop in the ocean of wonders the world had to offer. Eventually, she stumbled upon a hallway leading to a spa. It was only then she realized there were no lamps anywhere. The place was brightly lit, yet completely shadowless. It was the kind of detail one might easily overlook, but now that she noticed it, she couldn't unsee it. Lol, I don't have a shadow. That's weird. Rune thought to herself as she opened the spa door and stepped inside. A thick fog hung in the air, warm and fragrant, refusing to leave the confines of the spa as if bound by unseen forces. The moment the steamy air touched her skin, she felt her muscles relax. The atmosphere was thick, heavy with something familiar, magic. She scanned the room and saw shelves where others had stored their belongings in a changing booth nearby. She hesitated. Where should I put my stuff? I don't want anything stolen. I don't really trust people. Rune eyed the locker. She could sense magic within it. Not the kind tied to any individual she recognized, but rather, neutral magic. Not an illusion, not a trap. Still, should she risk putting her clothes in there? Would she get them back? After weighing her options, she decided to tuck her clothes into her small spatial pouch and tied the pouch securely to her wrist. Damn, I forgot to bring a towel, she muttered internally. Oh well, it's not like a bit of cold will kill me. As long as it doesn't freeze solid around me, I'll survive. With that, she stepped into the water. The sensation was familiar. The way the water moved, the weight of it reminded her of the dense magical air she'd walked through earlier. Everything in this world was saturated with magic, but here it was even thicker, as if the air itself had become liquid. Rune found herself wondering, was this normal, or was she just weaker than she thought? She shrugged and sank deeper into the water, letting it envelop her. Above the mist, she could make out the vague shapes of other mythological beings. None came close, though, and she kept her distance with ease. Until a sudden feeling struck her, an inexplicable urge to resurface and check her invitation letter. The same instinct seemed to ripple through the others as well. Okay, I guess it's time to go. Rune sighed as she rose from the relaxing, fragrant waters. Hey, wait, what the hell? You're naked, that's not allowed in here, said a young human male with short black hair and wide brown eyes, his gaze fixed on her dripping figure. Oh, did I surprise you? Sorry, I didn't know, Rune said casually as she walked across the wet floor, water glistening on her skin like stardust, heading to the changing booth without the slightest hurry. The stares from the others, mostly human, didn't feel particularly pleasant or unpleasant. It just was. Ultimately, it was her own fault for not knowing the rules. As she got dressed and made her way out of the bus, her thoughts wandered. I'll never understand why women are always ashamed of their bodies. Sure, I get that it's awkward being seen naked by random people. But really, does it make a difference if one person sees you or 20? Either way, it's unnecessary. And don't even get me started on those stupid blackmail scandals involving nudes. With AI tools nowadays, anyone could make fake images. You could deny them, call them deepfakes, and that's just a non-magical way of blackmailing someone. Rune shook her head at the thought. No way there aren't magical versions of that too. A new thought crossed her mind. I wonder if I'll have sex with a cute guy, or a beautiful woman, once I get to the academy. Rune smirked at herself. Let's be honest, I'm the kind of person who'd sleep her way up the ranks if it gave me a real advantage. It's my body, after all. But only if it's worth it, especially if the person isn't even attractive. And come to think of it, ever since I became a vampire, I haven't had sex at all. Do I still need birth control? Do I even get periods anymore? Can I still get pregnant? These idle musings kept her company as she stepped out of the bus, and then, everything changed. Her breath caught. The world beyond the door took her by storm. The Intermagic's academy had not been exaggerated, it was breathtaking. A vast marble path stretched before her, gleaming white and inlaid with veins of what looked like real gold. Strange lanterns cast soft green and blue light, their glass casings filled with a slime-like substance. And above them, rainbow-colored flames danced in sconces, flames that burned with no visible fuel. Okay, now the fire's just floating there without any wood. Sure, why not? Rune thought, baffled, and then she noticed them. Fleeting shadows dancing in the air. One of them darted toward her, whispering in an aged, distorted voice. It radiated a chill and a sense of unease. Rune froze in place, even as the crowd of mythological beings behind her pushed forward. The thing that stood before her, translucent, not quite ghost, not quite spirit, radiated an unnatural coldness. It wasn't like anything from a horror film, it was worse. There are ghosts, why is there one here? Rune wondered, wide-eyed. But then she realized, people could see them. They just ignored them. A few human or elven mages muttered incantations under their breath, and the spirits retreated, as if repelled by the light or the words. Just as Rune had expected, light either weakened or corrupted them. No one seemed particularly alarmed, and most simply continued their walk toward the academy. So Rune did the same, falling into step with the others. Every few seconds, a flying figure soared overhead, students, maybe. Flying didn't seem too difficult here, or perhaps it was just more common. She heard countless languages she couldn't understand. A nearly naked fairy, wearing nothing but a few leaves, zipped past her and ruffled her hair. An elven man in a stunning red and gold suit strolled by, reminding her of how truly alien and varied these cultures were. But nothing could have prepared her for the sight ahead. Dwarves. Trolls. Elves. Fairies. Humans and human adjacents, beastkin, were beasts, and more. Of all of them, fairies and elves seemed the most comfortable with partial or full nudity. Fairies, Rune noted, didn't seem to have any males at all. And then, the castle. Black and gold. Towering. Colossal. Its true size only became apparent the longer one stared. The windows were tiny, the towers deceptively slender. It was the largest structure Rune had ever laid eyes on, and she wasn't sure her imagination could have even conjured such a place. The magical pressure in the air grew denser still, even more than the natural bubble world from earlier. And then, well, how are you, my dear? Feeling nervous, came a familiar voice. Rune turned. Gaius, how did you find me in this crowd? There are other silver-haired elves, you know. Gaius grinned. There's a search spell that works here. I just looked for a vampire matching your description. Surprise, surprise, you're the only one. Rune glanced at Gaius, simply accepting that he had found her somehow. Still, something had been nagging at the back of her mind, something she'd been meaning to ask. Anyway, she began, I've been looking into how Babylon fell. History books call it the end of an era, 13,000 years ago. But what I don't get is, how could a city so advanced in both magic and technology just burn to the ground? Her confusion was written plainly across her face. Gaius sighed. That's a tough question. Honestly, no one really knows the full truth. Babylon wasn't just a city, it was a legend, even among mythological beings. Some say its founders did something they never should have. A few myths even claim they tried to challenge the gods, but I don't buy that. Still, something did happen. Something powerful enough to wipe out the most advanced civilization the world had ever seen. He paused before continuing, his tone slightly more hushed. There are stories that say they'd already reached the stars, through magic or with starships. But again, those are just legends. What we do know is that after Babylon fell, a new era began. Gaius looked thoughtful as he continued, shifting into lecture mode. Since the creation of this universe, we mythological beings have divided time into distinct eras. First came the era of creation, then the era of destruction and chaos. After that came the era of peace and light, followed by the era of magic and wonders, which was basically the golden age of magic. Oh, and fun fact, dinosaurs still roamed during that time. He smiled at Rune's growing look of disbelief. If you want, we could visit one during the holidays, some magical preserves still have them. Rune blinked. Wait, what? There are still dinosaurs, of course. Gaius laughed. You think bubble worlds only popped into existence after humans showed up? Magical zoos have all kinds of ancient creatures, including dinos. Obviously, they can't survive in our atmosphere, they'd suffocate. But with magic, it's totally possible. If you want a dinosaur as a pet, all you need is money, which, by the way, you probably have now. He grabbed her hand and gently pulled her forward as the crowd began to move. Anyway, we're almost there. Hey. You two can save the kissing for later, someone from the crowd shouted with a teasing tone. Yeah, come on already, another voice added as the crowd surged toward the towering gates of the academy. The massive doors creaked open, and for a moment, it felt like stepping into another world. As soon as Rune crossed the threshold, the noise dulled. The chaotic chatter of students faded into a heavy, expectant silence. Then, a voice boomed from everywhere and nowhere at once. Hello, my dear students. Same as every year. I have better things to do, so you'll be assigned into groups and given your sleeping quarters. Let me be clear, we are not responsible if you have sex and someone ends up pregnant. That's on you. If you're here for hookups instead of studies, you're in the wrong place. The voice sharpened. Professors can expel you if you underperform. Don't worry, it's not easy to get kicked out after one bad day. But put in no effort, and you will be shown the door. Oh, and in case it wasn't obvious, rape, murder, and racism are absolutely forbidden. Break the rules, and you're out. This is an academy, not a playground. I don't care where you come from, so behave. Rune blinked up at the source of the voice. That's Neolin, the headmaster, Gaius whispered. No, that isn't me, a second voice said suddenly, this one much closer. Rune flinched. Neolin was suddenly standing right beside her. She hadn't even sensed him approach. I stopped doing those welcome speeches 30 years ago. Too tedious. That was just an illusion. Rune's face turned red, her brain catching up to the situation. Wah, wait, how did you? Neolin interrupted with a soft smile. I just wanted to say hello to the daughter of my old friends. Your parents were fine teachers here, and Dracula, well, long ago, he was someone who helped me in a difficult time. So I felt I owed it to him to show some respect to his successor. I'd be a poor friend if I mocked his final wishes. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, Rune felt as if he were staring directly into her soul. Nice to meet you, Rune Silverstar Blackston. Rune stood frozen, her thoughts racing. What the hell? How does he know my parents? How did we get from there to this? Why isn't anyone else reacting? Hey Neolin, long time no see. Gaius greeted him casually. And good morning to you, young Godfield, replied Neolin, one of the 10 most powerful beings in the world, as if they were just two old friends. Meanwhile, his illusion continued handling the rest of the welcome ceremony. Dash dash dash. Would you like to continue with the next page, or would you like a summary of this part as well? Here is your embellished English translation of the text, The Curse of Bloodlust. Video 3, page 7 inches with enhanced flow, emotion, and natural dialogue. I've preserved all the important plot elements, while improving the grammar, tone, and clarity for an English-speaking audience. Dash dash dash. The Curse of Bloodlust Video 3. Page 7. Rune glanced at Gaius, simply accepting that he had found her somehow. Still, something had been nagging at the back of her mind, something she'd been meaning to ask. Anyway, she began, I've been looking into how Babylon fell. History books call it the end of an era, 13,000 years ago. But what I don't get is, how could a city so advanced in both magic and technology just burn to the ground? Her confusion was written plainly across her face. Gaius sighed. That's a tough question. Honestly, no one really knows the full truth. Babylon wasn't just a city, it was a legend, even among mythological beings. Some say its founders did something they never should have. A few myths even claim they tried to challenge the gods, but I don't buy that. Still, something did happen. Something powerful enough to wipe out the most advanced civilization the world had ever seen. He paused before continuing, his tone slightly more hushed. There are stories that say they'd already reached the stars, through magic or with starships. But again, those are just legends. What we do know is that after Babylon fell, a new era began. Gaius looked thoughtful as he continued, shifting into lecture mode. Since the creation of this universe, we mythological beings have divided time into distinct eras. First came the era of creation, then the era of destruction and chaos. After that came the era of peace and light, followed by the era of magic and wonders, which was basically the golden age of magic. Oh, and fun fact, dinosaurs still roamed during that time. He smiled at Rune's growing look of disbelief. If you want, we could visit one during the holidays, some magical preserves still have them. Rune blinked. Wait, what? There are still dinosaurs, of course. Gaius laughed. You think bubble worlds only popped into existence after humans showed up? Magical zoos have all kinds of ancient creatures, including dinos. Obviously, they can't survive in our atmosphere, they'd suffocate. But with magic, it's totally possible. If you want a dinosaur as a pet, all you need is money, which, by the way, you probably have now. He grabbed her hand and gently pulled her forward as the crowd began to move. Anyway, we're almost there. Hey. You two can save the kissing for later, someone from the crowd shouted with a teasing tone. Yeah, come on already, another voice added as the crowd surged toward the towering gates of the academy. The massive doors creaked open, and for a moment, it felt like stepping into another world. As soon as Rune crossed the threshold, the noise dulled. The chaotic chatter of students faded into a heavy, expectant silence. Then, a voice boomed from everywhere and nowhere at once. Hello, my dear students. Same as every year. I have better things to do, so you'll be assigned into groups and given your sleeping quarters. Let me be clear, we are not responsible if you have sex and someone ends up pregnant. That's on you. If you're here for hookups instead of studies, you're in the wrong place. The voice sharpened. Professors can expel you if you underperform. Don't worry, it's not easy to get kicked out after one bad day. But put in no effort, and you will be shown the door. Oh, and in case it wasn't obvious, rape, murder, and racism are absolutely forbidden. Break the rules, and you're out. This is an academy, not a playground. I don't care where you come from, so behave. Rune blinked up at the source of the voice. That's Neolin, the headmaster, Gaius whispered. No, that isn't me, a second voice said suddenly, this one much closer. Rune flinched. Neolin was suddenly standing right beside her. She hadn't even sensed him approach. I stopped doing those welcome speeches 30 years ago. Too tedious. That was just an illusion. Rune's face turned red, her brain catching up to the situation. Wah, wait, how did you? Neolin interrupted with a soft smile. I just wanted to say hello to the daughter of my old friends. Your parents were fine teachers here, and Dracula, well, long ago, he was someone who helped me in a difficult time. So I felt I owed it to him to show some respect to his successor. I'd be a poor friend if I mocked his final wishes. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, Rune felt as if he were staring directly into her soul. Nice to meet you, Rune Silverstar Blackston. Rune stood frozen, her thoughts racing. What the hell? How does he know my parents? How did we get from there to this? Why isn't anyone else reacting? Hey Neolin, long time no see. Gaius greeted him casually. And good morning to you, young Godfield, replied Neolin, one of the 10 most powerful beings in the world, as if they were just two old friends. Meanwhile, his illusion continued handling the rest of the welcome ceremony. Excuse me, do we know each other, headmaster? Rune asks with a slightly nervous undertone. Neolin merely smirks at the sight and replies in a casual tone that while she may not know him, he certainly knows her, and her family. Your parents, Rune, were both excellent teachers at this academy. I supported them a great deal in their magical studies, and they helped me out a few times as well. We were close friends. And as for young Gottfield here, I know him quite well too. The Gottfield family is rather well known, to put it simply, says the headmaster of the International Academy of Magical Arts. To Rune, the headmaster seems like a calm, older man, even though, being an elf, he doesn't look old in the slightest. But she can tell from the way he carries himself that he's far older than he appears. She observes him cautiously, suspecting that he wouldn't answer nearly as many of her questions as she has in her mind. There's a mischievous, almost playful air about him. The very fact that he chose not to conduct the entrance ceremony himself, instead opting to let an illusion handle it, already suggests a certain laziness, which Rune can oddly respect. But what shocks her most is that her magical sight can't determine his magical level. Everyone else, even when she doesn't focus on their innate magic, she can at least perceive a rough measure of the magical energy within them, but not with him. Oh, don't worry about my friend here. Rune's always been a bit paranoid. She's just too shy to talk to someone like you. But deep down, she's honestly a good person, as long as you don't provoke her, Gaius says. Rune glares at him and smacks his shoulder lightly, annoyed at how casually he downplays her in front of a mage of this caliber. Yet when she tries to speak, she realizes she's far too nervous to hold a conversation with someone like the headmaster. Pressing her lips together, she waits until he moves on, then turns to Gaius. Man, that was nerve-wracking. I had this horrible feeling that if I said the wrong thing, he'd, sab me. Like, glowing hands, lightning strike, the whole deal. I still get chills. That guy is just insanely powerful. I really hope I can reach that kind of level someday. But it's probably a long way off, considering he's one of the 10 most powerful mages in the world, Rune mutters nervously as she instinctively grabs Gaius' hand. Feeling her touch, Gaius smiles softly but then points toward the ceremony. The illusion of the headmaster is now gone, replaced by a few teachers standing on stage. They announce that there will be a feast first, followed by the group assignments. For those who are curious, the invitation contains a list of which group they've been placed into. The food is free, but anything beyond the basics will cost extra. Some items can also be purchased in the nearby village just outside the bubble world. Rune is impressed by how detailed the rules are, especially when it's explained that each student group must be accompanied by senior students from higher years. There are also warnings about magical creatures living in the surrounding forests, both inside and outside the bubble world. As for the way out of the bubble world, explains a teacher with pointed ears and golden eyes, though those traits alone don't clearly indicate her species, she might be an elf, or possibly a shapeshifter, it's a bit complicated to explain. Let's just say that you either have to find mist within the bubble world or reach its border and receive permission to exit. Once you do, you'll find yourself somewhere in a forest in the mountains near the city. Rune, however, isn't too interested in the teacher species. What fascinates her more is the nature of the bubble world itself. Apparently, exiting from the inside is relatively easy, but entering from the outside is only possible at a specific location, and only with a student ID or under the supervision of a teacher. Moreover, if someone has never been inside before, they won't be able to enter at all. These are the conditions required to access the bubble world. Once all that is clarified, the teacher gestures, and tables full of food materialize across the vast hall. Strangely enough, some of the tables are attached to the walls, while others float randomly in the air. Rune blinks in mild confusion as she watches a group of mages, some with wings, some without, fly up to the floating tables and take their seats in midair. It looks as though they're sitting on plush armchairs, though the chairs themselves remain invisible. Man, this place is weird. Could you help me get a little more organized? I already feel like I'm going to lose track of everything, Rune says to Gaius. preserving the tone, character voices, and world-building style, while improving emotional clarity, flow, and impact. The Curse of Bloodlust Video 4. Page 1 inch. Yeah, I'd be happy to show you around, Gaius said warmly, leading Rune to one of the many banquet tables scattered throughout the grand hall. The food spread out before them was vast, colorful, and completely alien to Rune. Some dishes shimmered unnaturally, others emitted soft glows or gave off strange scents. Many of them, as she quickly learned, were outright poisonous. She barely reached for a vibrant fruit before Gaius intercepted her hand. That one's toxic to vampires, he said, pointing at the red fruit with a honeycomb pattern. And that banana-shaped thing next to it. Not poisonous, but if you eat both together, it'll mess with your head and your hormones. You'll be so sexually unhinged you'd try to screw anything with two legs and a pulse. Rune stared at him, half in disbelief. Gaius shrugged and picked up the very same blue banana-shaped fruit, which gleamed under the iridescent firelight dancing along the crystalline walls. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not God. I don't get to decide how magical fruits work. But trust me, there are weirder ones. Just be careful what you eat. Oh, and one last warning, magical food is digestible for you, so if you overeat, you will get fat. Without peeling it, he bit into the shimmering blue banana. Rune blinked. What the hell, she said, watching as Gaius froze for a moment, then shook like a glitching image for 3 full seconds. Totally normal. That's just the frost banana effect, he said, unfazed. What kind of fruit basket is this where every bite has a special effect? Rune asked, still baffled. It's like Super Mario, but with a higher death rate, Gaius joked. But as their conversation lingered over the chaotic buffet, Rune's gaze caught something, or rather, someone. A boy with black hair and piercing blue eyes. He looked vaguely like Gaius, but that wasn't what made her stop breathing for a moment. What stopped her was the sensation, something deep, raw, and terrifyingly real emanating from him. It passed so quickly she almost dismissed it, until he vanished into the crowd. You okay? Gaius asked, noticing her expression. You look like you've seen a ghost. No, it's something else. But it's not important, she answered truthfully, though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. You can tell me anything, you know that, right? I mean it, Rune, Gaius said, concern softening his voice. I'm sorry. I can't, Rune replied, her voice low but firm. If I did, it could get me killed. Or used. And while I trust you not to do that, it's just too risky to let anyone else know. Too many things could go wrong. What are you saying? I know you well enough to know you're not lying. I'll say this once. It's something about me. And if it gets out, I'm screwed. Not even your clan's power could protect me. It's only a matter of time before the truth would surface, and I'm not going to ruin my near-immortal life like some cartoon villain who reveals all her powers and plans before getting killed. There was fire in her eyes now, cold, focused, and dangerous. Gaius saw it, and for the first time in a long time, he understood just how serious Rune could be. Will you ever tell me? He asked. Yes. When I understand this world better. When things stabilize economically. Or, when I become the most powerful person alive. Or at least when I'm certain it's safe. Rune reached for her food again, trying to calm herself, but then she saw him again. The boy. This time, the full weight of his presence struck her like a hammer to the soul. It was wrong, so vast, so ungraspable, so ancient in its complexity that her eyes began to bleed from the strain of trying to comprehend it. What the hell? That wasn't my imagination, she gasped, clutching the table. That guy, how can someone like him even exist in this world? That's cheating. It's not even fair. And, why is his magic too advanced for me to understand? And then she saw it, the name of his innate magic, even though the boy himself had yet to realize it existed within him. Scars marked his skin. Signs of abuse. Of ignorance. There was no way he knew what power he carried. But Rune did. Creation and manipulation of gods and demons. Just reading it sent a shiver down her spine. He could become one of the most powerful beings in existence, if he ever learned to use it. That's so fucking overpowered, she thought. I need that magic. No matter what it takes. Thoughts spiraled darkly. If I have to sleep with him to get it, then so be it. But I can't just ask for his blood. And stealing it in the amount I'd need would kill him. And I'm not even sure I can copy something that complex. She looked away as her eyes slowly regenerated. A brief but intense wave of bloodlust radiated from her, enough to make Gaius flinch. He didn't know what it was or who it was aimed at, but he felt it. I could chain him up in a basement and harvest his blood drop by drop. No, that would destroy everything she was trying to build. But that magic. It would be worth it. It would be everything. Control yourself. You can't do that. Even with all your powers, you'd burn out. The director wouldn't allow it. So, seduction it is. Hey, what's going on with you? Gaius asked, clearly unsettled. Don't do anything stupid. It's nothing. I'm fine, Rune lied, trying to sound casual. You need to control your instincts. Whatever that was, you just radiated the urge to kill. How the hell did you feel that? Rune asked, startled. You broadcasted it. And whoever you were thinking about probably pissed themselves just now, Gaius said flatly, as though it were obvious. So, if my intentions are strong enough, people can sense them. That's good to know. It means I'll need to factor that into any seduction plan. Trying to charm someone while subconsciously wanting to kill them. Doesn't mix. Thanks, I didn't realize that. Wait, why are you talking about seducing someone? Gaius asked. I can't explain. But it's not about love. Let's just say, someone has something I need. There are many ways I could get it, but the easiest one would get me killed. So I'm looking into alternatives. No one can hear us right now, Gaius said, looking around. Aside from the director or anyone strong enough to break through this isolation barrier, but with all the ambient magic in the air, that would be nearly impossible. What do you mean? The more magical energy and enchanted artifacts there are around, the harder it is for surveillance spells to work. Anyone trying to spy on us would need an insane amount of power, and even then, basic rules of magic still apply. No matter how much mana someone has, they can't ignore the foundations of magical law. Unless they had some innate magic that let them bypass those rules, but even that's a maybe. Too many what ifs. Oh yeah, forget it. Still not saying anything more. But don't worry. I swear I'm not going to kill anyone. I just considered having sex with someone. And, Gaius, blood is more than food to me. You'll find that out if we stay at this academy long enough. I might need your help. But I'll understand if you don't want to get involved. I'm not exactly a good person. What are you talking about? You know I'd help you. But that's kind of hard if I don't know why you want blood. It's fine. I could survive without using it this way. But I'm too selfish. I could take what I want without hurting anyone, and in exchange, I could offer them something no one else in this world could. But that's all I'll say for now. I just want to eat. We can talk again after I've settled in and calmed down a bit. I promise. I won't do anything reckless. I'm not stupid. Let's talk tomorrow or something, okay, alright, but now you've got me curious, Gaius said, narrowing his eyes. It sounds like this has something to do with someone's innate magic. If you don't want to waste your potential, you should probably reread the basic texts on how this world works. Hey. Are you implying I haven't been studying magic since I got here? Rune said, mock offended. Yep. That's exactly what I'm saying, Gaius smirked. You're like a hybrid of the sins of gluttony and sloth. Incredibly vain. Brutal when irritated. You're a hopeless case. But you're my hopeless case, with all the sins a human heart can carry. Maybe you're the weird one here. Who in their right mind would fall in love with me? Thank you so much for watching. That's it for today's video. If you'd like to hear part 5 of this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed it, feel free to share my channel in any way you like, it really helps. If you click on the left side of the screen, you'll be taken to the latest video I've uploaded. And if you click on the center right, you'll also find the most recent video waiting for you. Right at the top center, you can now see a link to my YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out if you want to hear more of my stories. I hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.